answers, I change the questions. It's me, Austin!
Who are you to doubt El Dandy? Because this guy's a serious professional.
Brett screwed Brett.
Yeah! Can he do it? Collar! Oh, and a kick out! Unbelievable!
Promotional consideration paid for by the following.
Hey, yo, Pro Wrestling Podcast listeners, welcome to the show where we don't sing it, we bring it. Help us out and click subscribe to show your support today. And listen, if you're a YouTube subscriber, you gotta click the bell so they notify you every time a new episode goes up. Are you sick and tired of dropping $60 to $100 for the latest and greatest wrestling video game? Stop immediately. Go to Wrestler Unstoppable, available exclusively through Facebook. Create a wrestler, sign a contract, get into storylines, headline pay-per-views, even build your own corporation, all from the ground up, included in Wrestler Unstoppable, available now to all Facebook users, totally free. If you want to become a member of the Pro Wrestling Podcast family, you want your name in the shout-outs like my buddy John down in Texas. And tonight, special shout-out to one of my very special listeners, Sally. This is a shout-out for you. Then go to our Patreon page at patreon.com/Pro Wrestling Podcast. Sign up today, and we will give loyalty rewards to any $15 a month contributor. You get to co-host an episode of the Pro Wrestling Podcast with myself for one of our live shows. And $7.50 a month contributors entered into a drawing to also co-host a live episode with myself. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in to this episode of the Pro Wrestling Podcast. If you've got questions, comments, concerns, something you want us to get into in a future episode, any kind of special request, pop over to the Pro Wrestling Sound Off line, 267-642-1160. Leave your questions, comments, and concerns there. We will get to those in a future episode. Hello, everybody. Tonight, jumping into the news right away. The big news of the week has been Jade Cargill leaving All Elite Wrestling, WWE bound. Apparently, the word is that she's in Orlando. Don't know if she's already reported to the Performance Center, but the conversation has been around whether or not she's going to be appearing on the NXT brand or in WWE on the main roster. The amount of money that is being said that was thrown at her to come to WWE would indicate that she would be in a more substantial position than in NXT. I get that. This is a young lady who, despite the fact that you know that her experience level is limited, so that a lot of the talent that are in WWE on the main roster have had years of training in the WWE system prior to being called up to main roster. Think about the best of the best in WWE right now, whether it's Charlotte, Bayley, even if you go back to Mercedes Moné when she was Sasha Banks, if you're talking about any of the big stars, they come through the system. They're pulled up through the system. They learn the WWE way, how they do production, how they do their interviews, how they do their segments, and of course, how to perform in the ring. Cargill is going to fast track that because of the amount of money that they're giving her, and they feel that this is a huge get for WWE when you consider the fact that since the creation of All Elite Wrestling, only 3 wrestlers have made the jump. Obviously, Cody Rhodes, who's become a marquee name for WWE, Brian Pillman Jr., who has not yet made his mark on WWE, Jade Cargill coming in as someone who had a 60-match win streak. You know what I mean? Defending that TBS championship, 62 wins, 2 losses, leaves the company, now headed to WWE. You have to put her in a premium spot. And I suspect this may be an opportunity for her to be the one to take the NXT Women's Championship off of Becky Lynch if they don't put her on the main roster. Now, if she goes straight to the main roster, what do you do with her? Right now, there is so many possibilities. I would love to see her and Charlotte mix it up, but you don't necessarily want to feed her to Charlotte right away. Think about the talent that is on the main roster. You could put her in the ring with Bayley, who has proven to have a great match with almost anybody. You could put her in there with Natalya, who can work with a broom and put on a 5-star quality match. There are so many talents that would really bring out the best in Jade Cargill and help her development. They would make her an absolute stud on the main roster. The only concern I have is if you look back historically at the girls that they brought from NXT into the main roster in recent memory, I'm not talking about the 4 horsewomen or anything like that. I'm talking about people like Alba Fire, who has done essentially nothing of substance since coming to the main roster. Katana Chance or Casey Catanzaro, depending how you want to reference her. Not done much since getting to the main roster. It almost frustrates you that they were brought to the main roster when they were flourishing in NXT. Tegan Nox, who this week on Raw was supposed to be the one to answer the open challenge by Charlotte, who ended up getting bumped off to a WWE main event match instead of having that opportunity to really showcase her talents with Becky Lynch in a championship opportunity that Becky Lynch apparently lobbied for. I don't want to see something like that happen to Jade Cargill. Get her to the main roster and have no idea what to do with her. But apparently all hands are on deck to try to come up with some creative plans for her once she gets to WWE's main roster, which I could think, I know in 2023, the booking has been better than it has in previous years, but they still have to be careful with how they handle her appearance in the main roster, because you don't want to take a chance on doing something she's not prepared for. I know some of the talent can hide some of her weaknesses. I love that. Give her the time, give her the opportunity, but the creative has to be there. And it can't be something like she's used to in AEW where you kind of throw all of your eggs in one basket every week. You give something high tempo and then you kind of run out of ideas of what to do. And then you're kind of stuck in limbo doing a whole lot of nothing. Let's be honest, her tenure in AEW, the ending of it was not desirable whatsoever. 2 losses and then disappearing from the company after you pretty much dominated the division and beat almost everybody, I think was an unceremonious end to a relationship. Now, apparently she's still on good terms with AEW. Tony Khan has made it clear she's always welcome back to come back to AEW if she'd like. Maybe sometime that happens in the future. But for right now, WWE's platform, TKO's platform, is much bigger, better distribution, more opportunities outside of wrestling, which I think is something that's going to be appealing to her. AEW also news, Vikingo injured this past week at the Ring of Honor TV tapings during a trios match. There was a concern that he may have broken his hip, which would have kept him out of action for a very long time. Apparently, that is not the case. He didn't break his hip. The recent update is it's a deep bruise and one of those things where he'll be able to get back. Dave Meltzer of Wrestling Observer Radio said that he's not going to have to miss significant time, but he will miss some time. He's supposed to wrestle this Saturday night, but it sounds like he's supposed to take on Commander at a AAA event, but it sounds like that is probably not going to happen. But it would not be surprising to me if, say October, he was able to get back in the ring. And keep in mind, this is a guy who was working full-time in AAA in Mexico and now has come to the United States in Ring of Honor, in GCW. He's done a lot of AEW things. So he's done so much that I think maybe the uptick in what he's has been asked to do may be a contributing factor in whether or not he has gotten injured lately or not. Sliding around a little bit in the news. Last week, we all saw on Smackdown the return of The Rock, which was completely unannounced. Fantastic bit for WWE programming. I loved it. The pop from the crowd is authentic. It's real. There's nothing like a megastar showing up on your program. It was perfect. And of course, the conversation gets going about, well, what does this mean for the future? With the Hollywood strike going on, Cena's back, The Rock's back. Even Dave Bautista mentioned about possibly coming back. But one person who's not happy, Dave LaGreca. If you listen to Busted Open Radio with Dave LaGreca, Bully Ray, Thunder Rosa, Mickey James, Tommy Dreamer, they do a phenomenal program every single day just about Pitt. You should check that out if you have SiriusXM. It's fantastic. But LaGreca very frustrated. He feels like with The Rock coming back, it's disrespecting the business of WWE and disrespecting Cody Rhodes when he talks about how there was a match on the docket for WrestleMania 39 last year. And what it does is it essentially makes it sound like, they couldn't put pen to paper. They couldn't come up on what the storyline would be or whatever it was. But think about what that does in terms of what we did get. It almost craps all over what we did get, which was the Cody match, which was a classic. I didn't love the ending, but it was still a classic. Which has led to us following Cody Rhodes' story all year, hopefully leading to WrestleMania 40 in Philadelphia, where he would capture the championship and finally get there. But if you're going to inject The Rock into this, now the conversation is, do they do a triple threat? Dear Lord, I hope not. Mark Henry on Busted Open the other day, absolutely not in favor of that. I agree with him completely. These 3-way matches never seem to really rise to the occasion on WrestleMania shows. I don't want to see that. I would much prefer to see Roman Reigns versus The Rock night 1, Cody Rhodes versus somebody night one, not Roman Reigns or The Rock. And I'd like to see Cody Rhodes. Maybe he gets another match with Seth Rollins. Maybe it's Gunther. I think Gunther and Cody would be fantastic. Have that be night one. A physical match just like The Rock and Roman Reigns. Coming back night two, Cody and Roman for the championship and have Cody finally go over. I'm much bigger fan of that if you're going to bring The Rock in. But I don't want anything to outshine what they're looking to do with Cody and Roman. And at this point, I'm not going to say I'm on board with LaGreca saying how much it's disrespectful to the business. The Rock is the biggest attraction in the business. If he was trying to make a deal, that's news. And he's going to be honest about that. But definitely a situation to monitor as we get closer and closer to WrestleMania season. I'll be curious to see how those things play out. The Rock also in the news today because, as you know, last year with Danny Garcia, The Rock, they purchased the XFL, what was left over, through Redbird Capital. Started their season last year, did a decent job if you consider what you're working with. And now the word is that they are working with the USFL about possibly having a merger. This would be big for both corporations. If you watched the games last year, there were actually fans in attendance for XFL, not really very many fans in attendance for USFL games. If The Rock can bring more exposure to that, if they can cultivate that league and make it so that it really is a breeding ground for the National Football League, I think that's a great thing. Good job for The Rock. I'm going to touch on Raw just a little bit. I don't love the Raw shows lately. I'm not impressed with what you're doing. Cody Rhodes destroying Dominic Mysterio. Like, what is that? You're trying to put Dominic Mysterio in a championship match next week. He should have been in a prime spot and looked strong going into his championship match against Dragon Lee, who was in attendance, and next week we'll get his opportunity to shine on Raw. The Kevin Owens, Sami Zayn, Cody Rhodes thing, talking about Jey Uso, like I just don't care. I can't get a sense on where they're going with it. It's just like SmackDown. I don't even know what the Bloodline storyline is anymore. The Kofi Kingston match with Ivar, to be perfectly honest with you, that may have been the best thing of the night, and the credit goes to Ivar, who was hitting, moonsaults and splashes off the apron and all this insane stuff. I mean, the guy showed last night that he can go. It's a shame WWE will never push somebody who has that body style, but he clearly has it was a match that was pay-per-view quality, shown for free on television with no build, and I don't know. It didn't really satisfy much for me in terms of storyline. It was great in terms of wrestling, but not in storyline. Nakamura and Ricochet having their match. I do love the thing that they're putting Ricochet out there and having Nakamura target his back, and having Seth Rollins come out and try to get involved and whatnot. I love that they're furthering that storyline, but only if it's going to lead somewhere where Nakamura gets to look strong for a change. I do love Nia Jax hitting the ring for Baszler and Stark against Piper Niven and Chelsea Green. I appreciate that. It keeps that story. It's weird because I was just complaining about not understanding the Bloodline or the Owen, Zayn, and Cody thing, but this, I don't feel like I need to understand this. It seems to me that Nia Jax is trying to establish her dominance in the women's division. I'm okay with that. I think we need strong women at the top of the card. Now, I'm not saying she's the strongest talent in the ring. I'm saying we need a presence that puts that aura, that big fight feel in the ring, and we haven't had a lot of that recently. A lot of great wrestlers, great matches with Rhea, with Charlotte, with Becky, with all that, with Trish. But we haven't had somebody who's just a wrecking ball in the women's division, probably going all the way back to, maybe Nia's first run, but even before that to Karma, Awesome Kong when she was there. It didn't feel that way. Close at times, maybe in the Rumble or whatnot, but not often. This could be something, and it could easily be somebody to challenge Rhea at some point down the road. I absolutely hated burying Chad Gable to Bronson Reed. I don't get that. A week after having one of the greatest matches in Raw history. Does not make sense to me. I didn't understand the Natalya switch, taking Tegan Knox out and putting Natalya in for the Women's Championship, despite the fact that I do understand Natalya's been getting a lot of kudos for everything she's done, especially in the India show. But I'm not in favor of Tegan Knox being pushed aside. I don't understand where we're going with the Tommaso Ciampa and potentially the DIY reunion with Johnny Gargano. Maybe that's what you're leading towards with Giovanni Vinci and Ludwig Kaiser going against Ciampa. But if it is, they missed the boat. They should have done this for the tag team championship with Sami and Kevin. I think it would have been a much better match. The Jey Uso situation going against Drew McIntyre. I wanted this match to be more substantial. I really did. I understand the Bloodline crossover with the whole faction going up against Judgment Day. I get it, but I'm not ready to see the Usos get together, which is the only way I could see that playing out. And it doesn't work for me. I see that they're heading for, it's probably going to end up being, at the Survivor Series. You'll probably see JD McDonough join the Judgment Day and then go against, Cody, Jey Uso, Sami Zayn, and Kevin Owens at Survivor Series. I hate that idea. I really do. It's cramming too many megastars into one match. Leaves the rest of the card open. I'm not a big fan. We'll have to see how that plays out over the next several weeks, but just not loving it. More WWE stuff. Fightful Select reported that, and also reported by Bodyslam.net that 12 wrestlers were being brought to Florida for the latest round of tryouts at the WWE Performance Center. Several talents. The one that I'm going to highlight the most for me personally is Richard Holiday. He's the young man from MLW who had a stage 4 lymphoma, came back. He's trying to restart his career. Various other people. Brogan Finley, Fit Finley's son, was one of the tryouts. Hollywood Haley J from OVW was there, who was just on the reality series based on OVW. So that's kind of interesting that she was there getting this tryout. But there's definitely some talent coming in. Now that the hiring freeze sounds like it's over for WWE, hopefully they find a meaningful thing to do with all these talents that they're bringing in. So we'll have to see how that plays out as well. Hopefully they're stockpiling the cupboard with talents that can bring us something new and fresh. As often as possible. WWE announcer and part-time wrestler Pat McAfee in the news today, nominated to be put into the Pro Football Hall of Fame class of 2024. Granted, this is 25 of the semifinalists. They'll vote on him in November. I don't know that I expect him to go into the Hall of Fame. Punters are almost never put into the Hall of Fame, but it's interesting to see that he's there. There's a lot of really notable names on the list this year. It's not that he doesn't have any chance, but I don't think he's got the greatest chance. Going to touch real quick, New Japan Pro Wrestling. They have an IWGP World Championship match coming up at New Japan Destruction in Ryogo. And I'll be honest with you, I can't wait to see Sonata versus Evil, their former tag team champion partners together. And this time, they're hoping to do a lumberjack match with the two factions outside the ring so you can see them battle it out in front of all their people, all their boys, which I think is absolutely fantastic storyline. And you got to check out the rest of the card. There's some matches on there that are just New Japan puts on some of the best wrestling in the world, and people in the United States who love wrestling just never get to see enough of it. Dave Finley, Fit Finley's son, who is the never openweight champion, is going to be defending against Tama Tonga. Hiromu Takahashi is going to take on Leo Rush and Speedball Mike Bailey in a IWGP Junior Heavyweight Championship three-way match. There's just a lot on the card. It's going to be a great card. If you have a way to get Access Television after the fact, or if you get New Japan World, New Japan puts on some incredible, incredible stuff. Team 3D in the news. They appeared at Impact 1000. They had their match there where they were successful in their return to the ring. It was wonderful to see them knock out the Desi Hit Squad. But they had so much fun, and Devon is apparently feeling up to it after, his medical complication in the last few years, that they are going to be taking some signings together. And it looks like they're looking for booking a few tag team matches, looking to return to the ring a little bit more, which is fantastic. I love it. So, good luck to them. I hope they are successful in this return to the ring, building on that legacy of being one of the greatest, if not the greatest tag team in the history of wrestling. And on NWA Power, I know I don't talk NWA a ton here, but on the Power 919 episode, Tyrus is going to be addressing his retirement. He lost the NWA World Heavyweight Championship to EC3 at NWA 75. He'll be announcing his retirement. The card is also stacked there. Check out the NWA Power show. I mean, the episodes are fantastic. They really are trying to throw back to traditional wrestling of the past, and I really appreciate everything that Billy Corgan is doing with that brand. That's all the time we have for this episode. Check out the next episode where we run down the latest wrestling news and rumors. Thanks, as always, go out to bensound.com and purpleplanet.com for any music or sound effects we use. Today's show is sponsored in part by Beazle Games. Bring a new friend to family game night. It's easy with sketchy people. Showcase your artistic side in this game by Beazle Games by going to thegamecrafter.com and picking up your copy of Sketchy People today. If you're looking for your next career move, you're considering college or university life, maybe you just need some formal training for your next career decision, go to our sister website at frolifeplanning.com for all your higher education needs, as Fro Life Educational Planning is for today, for tomorrow, for life with Fro Life. I'm Fred Froelich, better known as Dr. Fro. I want to thank you so much for taking a few moments with us today. Until next time, take care, everybody. Have a great night, and keep an eye on that independent wrestling. Support indie wrestling every single week. Some of the greatest wrestling in town. Take care. Have a great night.